How does somebody you know ruin their life in one day? Stood in the wrong place. He was stood in a bar minding his own business and a fight broke out. He caught an accidental blow to the back of the head and caught his head on a wall on the way down. He never woke up. I distantly know somebody who tried to cross the US-Can border without declaring greater than $10,000 in cash, which led to them searching all his stuff and finding no porn on his computer. He's in jail. Guys got drunk in HS, drove off the highway, didn't make the turn at 90 miles per hour, 5 dead. Guy the first knew in uni was inebriated and decided to try and clear a very tall spiked wrought iron fence. He impaled his balls and did not get to keep them. Pushed his girlfriend down a flight of stairs in front of almost everyone he knew seconds after she announced to everyone that she was pregnant with his kid. I ain't sure if she miscarried or if she just decided not to have that psycho's kid, but he spent a few years in prison over it and he ain't welcome anywhere no more. She walks with a cane at 30. My friend's brother got too drunk, got violent. Cops came and he fought them. Once restrained, he started threatening to find and kill their children. Never seemed to get his life back on track after that. A 19-year-old guy in Sydney ate a slug for a dare. Got rat lungworm disease. Went into a coma for 18 months. Woke up a vegetable confined to wheelchair needing 24-hour care. Died about 10 years later. From eating a single slug. Tried to kill themselves by jumping off a bridge. Survived, paralyzed from neck down. Edit. It was a female. Worked in Seattle airport and a coworker decided to take his own life by stealing an airplane, fly it in loops around the Pacific Northwest airspace while being chased by the Air Force until finally going nose down. He got drunk, got in his car, drove 90 miles per hour, missed a red light and killed my niece and 3 other people. He's been in prison since 2009 and still has 6 years to go, as he pled out to 4 counts of manslaughter. My daughter's middle school teacher exchanged nudes with a 14-year-old on Discord across state lines. He ate dinner alone, choked, and died. Dude several years our junior, on the fringe of the friend group, was spiraling into depression. Decided to end it WA shotgun. Didn't get the angle right. Blew his jaw and face off. Literally. It's not for nothing that they said ever since, there are worse things than dying. Then 3 guys in high school decided to speed on the backroads after practice. Lost control, driver was decapitated, passenger, who was being scouted, had severe brain damage and unable to walk, eat, etc. on his own, and the third may have walked away, but for the rest of his life will have to live with the trauma. Great bunch of guys, just heartbreaking. Old coworker went to Vegas, felt really good about his odds due to the liquor and ended up betting his entire life savings on roulette and lost. He ended up losing his house, his wife, kids, and from what I've seen he lives in a tiny apartment and works a min-wage job. Really great friend in high school huffed glue in her bedroom one night and died. It was really weird. No one knew she was doing inhalants, and she didn't fit the glue huffing stereotype. She was extremely social and well-liked, extremely smart, athletic. She was the head chair in band in her section, and really into jazz band, but at night, she'd huff flocking glue. Deleted. Knew a guy my freshman year of college. Easily the most socially awkward person I've ever met. Not necessarily a bad guy but a really weird one. He was expelled for making a bomb threat. No idea what happened to him after that, but I can't imagine anything good. Childhood friend who relapsed from a drug addiction. He ingested fentanyl, died all alone in a filthy basement. He had been looking healthier, we reconnected and he was planning his life going forward sober. That hurt a lot, that hope being taken away in a few minutes. Fuck opiates, fentanyl and those who deal it. Too many lives lost every day. My boss had his dream job, sports editor of a local paper, a nice family and a young daughter. He called one day to say he wasn't coming into work. Turns out he was busted trying to meet up with a girl he met online for sex. Girl was actually a cop. Had a friend in college. We were both training to be pilots. His dad owned an insurance company and gave him the company's credit card to pay for all his flight hours with. He got about 2 years in, he finished his first license, $30,000 $50K, got a DUI halfway through his second license, pilot career down the drain. On top of that his father's company will be paying for it. Worked with a guy, he made his kids ice cream, drugged one bowl, then put that kid to bed. Once the other kid went to sleep he shot and killed her. Then went to the other kid's room, the drugged one, shot and killed her. Then called up his wife, shot and killed himself on the phone with her. Fuck you, Mark. Fuck you. My dad went snorkeling and got a clot in his lung. Died on the beach being held by his wife. Had a friend or ex-friend at the time, he decided, so what if she's not 18 and he was a teacher? Yeah, not a good outcome. I had a classmate who tried to OD to end his life. He survived. He was in a coma for like a year. Then when he woke up he couldn't talk or even remember who he was. He's getting better slowly but he's now mentally disabled. Just so brutal. He's only 22. I know the brain is an amazing thing, so hopefully he'll get to some sort of normal eventually, but he's never going to be the same. Brother of a friend went out drinking with some scumbag friends, people had warned him to stay away from. Late into the night there's an argument with one of them. Friend's brother ends up being part of a group who beats this poor guy to death. He won't see the outside of a prison for a good 20 years now. He managed to get his hands on Quaaludes, got wasted, tried to attack a store owner and was shot by police. My family knew had a device on his car to make sure he didn't drink because he was an alcoholic. Once it was taken off, he went straight back to drinking and never cleaned up. 5 months later he died from it. Buddy in high school got drunk and wrapped his car around a utility pole. Left a daughter behind. You would think teenage dad would have been the thing that ruined his life, but no, it was the dying. Had a choir teacher at my middle school who was accused of inappropriate behavior with a student. Before charges were even made, he took his life that evening after he left school. I remember him playing the dispatch call of himself telling the police where they'll find his body. Gambling. All their savings, the house, a motorbike. She walked out, eventually, got her life back. Him? Who knows? Old friend of mine relapsed and owed it on fentanyl 3 days ago. Opioids have ruined my area. I've lost 4 or 5 out of 70 classmates I graduated with 10 years ago, all gone from overdosing. When the judge sentences you to 2 years probation for forging checks, but you want to keep smoking crack so you ask for the jail time, and the judge gives you 2 years in prison. Showed up to work with a few ounces of heroin in his bag and security picked him for a random bag check. He was originally charged with trafficking and pled down to simple possession. I think he might get out of prison in a couple of more years. Lost a good paying job, his wife divorced him, and he's barred from seeing his children once he gets out because of the drug charges. She decided she didn't want to be a wife and mom anymore after having 4 kids, all under age of 14. Left her family and moved in with a guy on parole for assaulting a young teen. Kids want nothing to do with her. Rest of family and community have had it. Cast porn from phone to TV without realizing. Phone was also remotely managed by their company. Divorced and fired from position. Not someone I personally know, but while scrolling Reddit, I saw this video of a basketball player that smashed his head in frustration on the stanchion due to a referee's call and he ended up being paralyzed from that unfortunately minute moment. I urge you to not watch it. It ain't pretty. Coworker was grooming a child. Everyone else calls it sexting with a teen, across state lines. He then went to pick her up for the weekend and the following Monday the feds showed up to walk him out of work. Dude was going through a divorce and just went ham with his 401k money and wanted to kill kids. Some teenagers got drunk and ran over a gas station employee when he tried to stop them from stealing gas. They dragged him a few kms. The blood stained their roads for weeks. They were all tried as adults and got the maximum sentence of 25 years. I think they were charged for second-degree homicide. Alcohol in a 3-wheeler. Alcohol in a motorcycle. Alcohol in a van full of friends. Alcohol in operating heavy machinery. I'm in a USAF and my current counterpart of the same rank was about to get promoted to Master Sergeant, E7, but he went through the base gate and blew a hot breathalyzer. He lost his rank and get demoted down to his OKD position. This happened like 2 months ago. During senior year she got caught having sex on school grounds so she claimed that he raped her, got him arrested, expelled, all of that. Later, the cams proved him innocent and she got expelled, arrested, and lost all of her college scholarships. I think she might still be in jail IDK. Handful of guys from my graduating high school class were expelled after 1 semester of college ranging from underage drinking, cheating academically, sexual assault, public intoxication, or quitting college to find oneself as they blow away their trust fund by traveling to Europe and binge drinking. The wisdom on this thread is basically, stay away from guns, don't be a pedophile, and don't speed, especially not while drunk. I don't know him but I always think of the guy who tried heroin once thinking he wouldn't get addicted to it and documented it here on Reddit. Cousin who was 15-ish was celebrating July 4th with her boyfriend and friends. He dies right in front of her because he decided to make a sparkler bomb. His life was over and she watched his face pretty much get blown off. My mom's first boyfriend dove into the shallow end of a pool, broke his neck, been in a wheelchair for 35 years. My brother decided to drink and drive a motorcycle. He died. My childhood friend Mandy found out at 15 she was pregnant and cried rape. The truth came out almost immediately because the boy she claimed was the father had recorded them flocking and she forgot about the tape. She had children when she didn't want to be a mother. Babies don't keep a man. 2 of my friends in high school murdered one of their friends out in the desert after making him dig his own grave. They tried removing his teeth and failed, then buried him. They got away with it for months but were finally arrested and have been in prison for 20 years now. Heading over to R, wholesome now. I tried heroin and didn't stop for 20 years. Still picking up the pieces. Off the booze since 2019 and the junk exactly 1 year ago. Still picking up pieces. My brother got into the car with his friend, whom he knew had drank too much. He quite literally ended his life. I'm not looking for attention or condolences, but just remember that it's not just being the drunk driver that you have to think about. Kid I knew growing up got mad at someone behind him in a drive-thru and shot and killed the guy. My sister ruined her life in an hour and a half, let alone a day. She left to go pay her cell phone bill. Left all 4 of her kids home alone with a known sex offender. I now have guardianship of her youngest and none of her kids want anything to do with her. It turned her into an absent mother. They tried meth. I had a friend, not close, but he was close with mutual friends, show up to his parents' house, knock on the door and shoot his dad dead in the doorway. He then called the police and sat on the steps until they showed up. Seriously, a really good guy whenever I was around him. Fuck, what was that guy years ago who destroyed his company with a few emails or something in one day? I think it was something to do with a controller for disabled people. I was at a casino down in Atlantic City because we were staying by the shore nearby and said why not. I played and won $60 and chickened out from playing anymore. This old man is in front of the cashier cash-out area and the lady behind the glass told him his bank account was empty. Friend was spinning a revolver around like Wild West, shot himself in head, game over. He was 22. Another friend got in a fight in a park, and some idiot watching tossed a knife on ground. He picked it up and stabbed the kid. He was 16, and the one that died was 15. He spent 20 years in prison. Didn't know her personally, but a teacher at my brother's high school shot and killed her son, then turned the gun on herself. The school wanted to believe that there had been a break-in and they were killed during a robbery, but there was no evidence of this. My mother was at a stop sign when she was rear-ended by a truck going 30 miles an hour. She had just left my abusive stepfather and was ready to start the next chapter of her life. She had to have titanium pins in her spine and both hips replaced and was left with brain damage. She eventually died after living almost a decade in excruciating pain. My uncle basically ruined his life by banging a coworker. He was a security guard and got caught banging a nurse at work. He lost his job and got blacklisted or something because no one else would hire him. Now he's eating tramadol every day in a basic apartment with a dump vehicle. It's sad because he's a good guy actually. Deleted. Removed. Not wearing his seatbelt and swerving into a tree stump. Killed himself and left his brother in the hospital. Only for his mom to find out on the news the next morning. To be real for a sec, this was today. One of my childhood bullies joined the military immediately after graduation. Soon after that, he got drunk and dove into shallow waters. He broke his back and is now permanently paralyzed, as well as completely unable to do his dream job. He was always a miserable piece of shit who always picked on people he deemed less than him, including disabled people. Karma is a raging bitch. Drinking and driving. AD got the cheerleading team pregnant. Stole all the money from the athletics budget to pay them for a bit. Nosedived off the gym into a curb. I know far too many people who decided to get high, one last time. Yeah, it really was the last time. A paraeducator I've known since childhood thought he had turned off his camera on a Zoom lesson during COVID lockdown and got caught masturbating on camera. Pretty much ended his career. I was supporting my ex and our baby. We had borrowed a car from my parents, because we were down to one car. Their spare pickup died and they needed a car back. They both worked. My ex said, no. I packed almost all my and my daughter's stuff into the car I was returning and moved in with my parents with the baby. I stopped supporting him and his life went downhill super fast. It isn't super extreme, but a new guy at a factory I worked at celebrated finally finding a job by doing a shot at the bar next door during lunch. He was fired 3 hours into his shift for doing the shot. My best friend growing up ended up on diversion from a marijuana-related offense. He started experimenting with prescription painkillers as it was relatively easy to flush for random drug tests. Eventually he discovered OxyContin, then heroin, and finally fentanyl. He was really smart and an overall great person. I miss him dearly. One of my closest friends shot himself. Can't wait to kick the shit out of him in the afterlife for that one. Senior year in high school, one of my best friends was involved in a drive-by shooting and was sentenced to life. That was 25 years ago. A sudden act of explosive violence brought on by nothing worth remembering.